Curious George goes to a flower show. I'm going to be a judge at the flower show, said the man with the yellow hat. We'll have to leave soon, George. So off they went in their little blue car. Before the show started, George's friend had to meet with the other judges. Take a look around, George, he said. I won't be long, but don't get into trouble. George wandered off. There were beautiful bushes and flowers all around. A gardener was trimming a large bush. Clip, clip went his clippers. Soon the gardener laid down the clippers and left. George went over to the bush. Was clipping a bush as much fun as it looked? George was curious. He picked up the clippers and began to trim. It was fun. Then he stepped back to look at his work. It didn't look right. One side of the bush was higher than the other. George went back to work. But this time, he cut off too much on the other side. So he had to clip more and more and more. Before he knew it, he had clipped the bush right down to the ground. Just then, a little girl came along. Her name was Jane. She was holding a vase with flowers. I was going to enter these in the flower show, she said. But I'm afraid they won't win. There's nothing special about them. George looked at her flowers. She was right. They were not very special. Suddenly, he heard someone shouting, "My beautiful bush, you've ruined it." It was the gardener. He was angry, and George was scared. Where could he go? Then he had an idea. He grabbed Jane's vase and ran into the tent. Inside, rows and rows of flowers were on display. Some were in seashells, some were in old bottles, some were in baskets. There was an empty space on the table. A good place to put Jane's flowers. Meanwhile, the judges were looking at all the different displays, row after row. The man with the yellow hat was with them. They were trying to decide which one should win. "Look, there's something unusual," said one of the judges. "A statue of a monkey with flowers." It was George with Jane's vase in one hand and one leg in the air. He stood very still. So still that he really did look like a statue. The man with the yellow hat stared at him. He did not say a word. He just winked. "I suggest that this one get first prize," said one of the judges. They all agreed and stuck a blue ribbon on George. That hurt, but George still looked like a statue. Then Jane came running over, followed by the gardener with his clippers. I won, Jane shouted, thanks to George." The gardener was still angry. He tried to grab George, but the judge stopped him. Please, she said, "you mustn't disturb our beautiful arrangements." Jane smiled. "They think he's a statue," she whispered to the gardener. The gardener smiled too. "Well," he said, "I don't think a statue could cut down a bush. Or could he? But don't do it again," he said. No, George wouldn't do it again. His whole body hurt. Being a statue is hard work. "Come on, champ," said the man with the yellow hat. "Let's go home." And so they did.